home warranties, not warranties on a product, but on your whole house. They're supposed to provide peace of mind in case of an unexpected repair. But it seems like the only thing they provide is a headache when homeowners try to use them. So how do you decide if home warranties are worth it? Here with his advice, Money Pit host Tom Kraeutler. Tom, welcome back. Good to have you here. So we hear a lot online about how bad these things are.
Yep.
What do you make of them? Are they worth the money?
Not really.
That's an honest answer. I like to hear that.
You know, they're one of the most complained about categories on some consumer websites. And you'd say, well, how can they be so popular, though? Well, they're popular not with homeowners, Gerri. They're popular with home sellers. They're a selling tool. You put your house on the market. Maybe it's an older house. You're worried about, things breaking down, maybe during this transaction. They put the warranty on it to pass it on to the prospective buyer and make them feel good about it.
But the problem is making good on that. So let's say something goes wrong with a house and you're trying to get something fixed. It's going to be super hard to do, right?
It can be. Now, they promise to cover a lot, and there are things that they do cover. And there's only a couple of reasons I think it makes sense to have this. If you're strapped for cash, you have no extra money to do any repairs on the house, then maybe that's a good idea.
How much do they cost?
Well, the warranties are like $500 or $600. They're not inexpensive.
So we're talking about a big fix.
Yeah, you got to figure $50 a month. I mean, if everything is old in your house and there's no pre-existing condition on the warranty for age, old appliances, that might make it a good reason to buy it. And of course, if you're putting your house on the market, they are attracted to home buyers.
Home buyers like them, even though they may not know that they're difficult to use. So, if you want to purchase a home with a warranty, is there a way to do that makes sense?
Well, listen, you're not paying for the warranty, so it's kind of what you get is what you get. But the devil is in the details. There's a lot of things that these warranties don't cover, and you have to be really careful to understand what it does do and what it doesn't do.
Tell me about that.
Well, for example, I had a family member that had one of these warranties on her home. Last winter, terrible winter, furnace goes out, right? Now, the warranty was supposed to cover installation and the new furnace. The serviceman comes out and he says, well, yeah, but it doesn't cover modifications. You're thinking, well, that's interesting. What's a modification? They called modification removing and reconnecting the electrical wire, removing and reconnecting the gas pipe, and removing and reconnecting the duct. That's not a modification. That's what it takes to install a furnace.
Wow. So was it the whole bill was not covered or just part of it?
Just that, but they ended up tacking on about $600 to the cost of that replacement. She got the furnace, but it cost her about $600 for the modifications that weren't covered.
That's a big devil in the details, if you ask me. So any upside or any other negative you want to mention, something specific here?
Well, if you've bought a house and it's really old and you're concerned about making sure nothing really goes wrong with it and you don't have any money, that's really the only time I think it makes sense to have a home warranty. Other than that, I think you're better off thinking about this. Appliances, right? That's one of the things it covers. Appliance service contracts almost never make sense. Set a little money aside for that. Buy it on your credit card. They'll double the warranty. Heating and cooling systems.
You can pay anything you want to for an appliance. You can low end, mid range, high end. You don't have to spend $1 million.
Right. Heating and cooling systems. Now that's something you do want covered, right? But you've got to have it serviced anyway. So why not get a service contract through your local HVAC pro to have it covered, right? And roofs. Now, roofs, they wear very, very slowly. If you have a big storm and you get a leak, you don't need a warranty. That's covered by your homeowner's insurance.
What great advice.
Right?
Yeah, no, I think that's terrific. And I think people look for an all-in-one solution, and often that's just not the case. When you become a homeowner, you have to have 1 million people that you work with to keep that house in shape.
You need a team. You need a team.
You need a team. You absolutely do. Tom Kraeutler, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome.